Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining in here today. We're really excited to bring this together for you. So we'll just sort of give an extra couple of minutes for people to log in and get ready, and then we'll sort of jump straight into the webinar here today, and absolutely going to be looking at how can you job seek in the pandemic. So thank you so much for joining, guys. It's certainly a great privilege to be able to present this information for you. We've obviously got a bit of Q&A, some questions coming through already, which is great. Really love the enthusiasm, so we will absolutely get through them for you today as well. So rightio, well, I think we're ready. I think we're good to go. I'm all set up here. Hopefully you can see me and you can hear me, and you can more importantly see the content on your screen there. So guys, as I said, welcome and thank you for making the time out of your days to I guess attend this webinar. And really, you know, this webinar was created with the idea that we really just want to try and help people. You know, I absolutely empathise that job seeking is a challenge, and it can be difficult at the best of times. Then on top of that, to absolutely add, you know, the world that we're living in at the moment just adds an extra layer of complexity. So I really acknowledge that it can be a real challenge, and it can be quite stressful. So we as a business, you know, we really care about trying to help and connect and work with people. So we wanted to put this webinar together that can really just provide some practical tricks and tips and information to help you navigate through what is already quite a challenging thing for a few people. So the idea is to give you, some really practical tricks and tips that can help you, and we'll go through there. It is interactive, so we're absolutely going to be looking at the Q&As and the questions that you have coming through. So please do keep them coming. I've got them up on my side of the screen there. Lauren is helping me out with the presentation, so she might also be able to respond to a few along the way, or just remind me of some of the common questions that are getting asked. And I will take points throughout the present to actually stop, go to those questions to look at reflecting and reviewing them as well. So really quickly, 6 Degrees, for those that don't know us or haven't heard of us before, we are a specialist recruitment firm. We operate across all over Australia. We've got offices down the east coast of the country, and we work in a lot of different fields and industries as well. And our recruiters are specialists in those areas. So at the end of this, you're welcome to jump onto our website, and if you see a consultant that specialises in your sector, highly encourage you and welcome you to reach out to them to see if maybe they could also help you with your job search, or maybe answer some further specific questions for you. I also just wanted to take a moment. We're in the hands of technology here. We're in this, this new digital world that we live in. We are in the hands of technology. So bear with us. We've set up. I've got my little studio here ready to go. It may cut out. I hope it doesn't, but it may. If it does, I just ask you just to hang in there. Give it a few seconds. We'll be working on the back end to try and get it updated. And if there's anything that we need to be sharing with you, we'll make an announcement and let you know to help you through. But just hang in there. Bear with us for a few moments, and hopefully we'll be able to refresh things should technology get the better of us. And lastly, guys, most importantly, how can you interact with this? This is recorded. We will be recording this, and we will be providing a copy at the end of the presentation to you. So by all means, feel free to sort of sit back and watch. You can take a few little notes that might be more specific to you. But more importantly, if you do have a question, you think of it on the spot, write that question in there so that it's recorded, because we'll also be referring back to them and seeing if we can help as much as we can with the questions that you guys ask. On questions, we'll keep it generally broad. I don't have time to sort of go into specific situations that you may have, but again, happy to see if we might be able to follow up later to see if we can help you with any specific questions that you might have. All right, guys, well, let's jump into it. Let's explore it. So what are we going to be covering today? What are the areas that you guys are going to be taking away from this? And it's really in three simple areas. The first one, I just want to give you a really quick snapshot on the current market conditions. What's happening in the job seeking market at the moment, and how, as you as a candidate or a job seeker, how can you respond to that market? We're then going to be looking at getting match fit. So What's the tools? What are the things that you have at your disposal as a job seeker that you can use to help you through your search? And how do we make sure that they are as best as they can be to help you in that process as well? And at the end of it, we're going to be looking at a bit of a plan of attack. So engaging with recruiters, how to sort of work through that job seeking market. And this is a good opportunity should you have any questions around that. Absolutely, we're going to be exploring and fleshing that out as well. All right, so they're the three areas: market conditions, getting match fit, and a bit of a plan of attack moving forward. So market conditions. No doubt the market has absolutely changed and it's had a shock to the market. There's no doubt about that, but there's been some really positive signs lately. So through Seek, just looking at the Seek platform, it's a probably relatively known platform for many. This has been the advertisements advertised on Seek since the start of the year. And as you can see, that trend there, initially at the start of the year has been relatively normal for a January, February market. Okay, it's remained relatively steady and it's been, typical things that we see in that market. But as you can see, when we probably got into the peak of things, which was probably around that March timeframe, restrictions came in, lockdowns came in, etc. That's where we really saw the market take a bit of a dip. And understandably, businesses' priorities shifted probably overnight, really just focusing on their people. And so what we saw was roles being taken off, roles being put on hold, and it's sort of being a bit of a status quo for the interim period. And we saw that decline quite significantly. Seek put out a report that showed around 82% of Australians were impacted by COVID-19. So it's a severe impact. But that aside now, and where we're at now, we remained steady for a little bit there. But then, more importantly, and what's really, really exciting, in recent weeks, we have seen an incline. So you can see there the graph is heading up, and we absolutely are seeing that at the coalface, speaking with our clients, absolutely speaking with businesses, and we're having new roles come on every single day. So that's really, really positive to see. So what does that mean for you? Just give me a moment. So what does that mean for you? Well, basically, it now means the job seeking market has flipped. A few months ago, start of the year, very much the demand was high for candidates or for job seekers, and the supply was low. So you as a job seeker, you had choices and options. That has now flipped the other way. So the demand is low and the supply is high. There are a lot of people out there obviously looking for work, and it's now changed that job seeking market, which means you as a candidate, also as a job seeker, also need to shift and adapt the way that you look for work and look for roles. And so again, in this webinar, I want to try and give you some of those tips on how we can adapt and change in the current climate that we're in. So that's sort of what we're going to be looking there. We need to change our approach. We need to be probably a little bit more targeted and specific in the types of roles that we apply for and connect with. But I completely get that it is tough and it's challenging, and there's people that may have been out of work for some time, and I totally, I suppose, empathise with you in that. And my advice to you and my encouragement to you is to remain strong, keep going, but maybe just sort of take a moment to breathe, slow down, and think about the next steps moving forward as well. And again, hopefully I can provide some of that information for you today. So, getting match fit. What are the things that you have at your disposal, the toolkits that you have at your disposal to help you move through and get match fit and through this job seeking process? How to make sure you're ready to go. So there's a few things. Before we just jump into that, I do just want to spend a moment exploring about us people, individuals, okay, and how important it is from an energy and enthusiasm, mental health capacity it is when we are job seeking. And I acknowledge that with so much going on at the world at the moment, emotions can be high, stress levels can be high. And so if you find yourself getting anxious, stressed and worried about, looking for a new job, my advice to you is to sort of just take that step back and really look to focus in on the things that you can control. What is in your control that you can actually do on a daily or weekly basis to help you through this time that we're in. And you may have seen this sort of diagram before, the circle of influence, but if you haven't, really quickly, it identifies there's three layers. There's the first layer on the outer, which are things that just are outside of your control and you have no influence on. And then inside that, there are the things that you have a little bit of influence on, but not ultimately you. But then lastly and most importantly is that middle circle, which represents probably the smallest of all of them, but it's the things that you actually have control in. So the things that you do on a daily or weekly basis that can help you through these challenging times. And some examples of what I mean by that are the jobs that you apply for, you know, the number of roles you apply for, the way you act and engage with potential employers and hiring managers, what information you put on your CV and how you present that. You know, these are the things that you are in control of, and I really encourage you to spend far more time focusing in on that than the things that are outside of your control, which could be clients taking roles off, clients putting roles on hold, another candidate that applies or is engaged for that role that's just a more suited candidate. You know, those things are way outside of your control, you have little influence on. So I encourage you just not to worry about them and recenter and refocus yourself back to the things that you can control. And that's sort of helped me personally, a lot of things that I've been experiencing over the last few weeks. So that might be something to think about. Write down on a list, you know, what are the top 3, 4, 5 things that are in my control when job seeking, and just keep reminding yourself of them. So your job seeker toolkit, what are the things that you have in your hands right now that you can utilize to help you through the job seeking process? All right. And it's really important why I'm highlighting these 3 areas, you know, because the job market, generally speaking, before everything that's happened has changed, where roles are no longer just actively advertised positions. A large portion of roles sit in this passive market, and those roles require deeper searches. They may not be advertised for confidentiality reasons, and they require a more proactive approach in connecting with people that could be suitable for that position. And so if you haven't got your toolkit ready that helps you get into the active market, those roles that are being applied, and the passive market, those roles that are engaged more of a search, then you're missing opportunities. So you want to create yourself a good strategy where you're getting the active roles that you're applying for, but you're being approached by recruiters, hiring managers, companies for future roles or other roles that they have within their business. And these 3 areas, your CV, your LinkedIn profile, and your job seeking profile as well, which some people might not have or know, and we'll talk about that as well. So these 3 things is what we're going to cover, and I'm going to give you some practical tricks and tips on what to do when working through these areas here. So let's jump into it. CV, resume, the big one. This is the document that you send straight off, that you allow someone else to review and have a bit of a look at. And what I've highlighted here are 6 mistakes not to make. 6 mistakes not to make. And so just looking at these ones here is, and if you've got questions now about CVs that you think, I'm going to ask a few in a moment, if you've got some questions about CV, definitely feel free to chuck them in the Q&A box now, because we'll be going through them. So first and foremost, it's really important to have an up-to-date CV, really your current information. Reading CVs that don't have your current employer on it, again, just want to make sure you've got all the right information on your CV with respect to the employees that you have. So make sure it's current and up to date. That's also including your contact details, phone number, email address, etc. You want to make sure those details are actually also correct as well and updated. Dates, so let's look at dates for a moment, missing dates or inaccurate dates as well. So 2019 to 2020 probably isn't an accurate reflection, or possibly couldn't be an accurate reflection on that time you spent there. It may create questions of, was that 12 months or was that 6 months? Is there something maybe we're missing here, or why are we doing it like that? So it's really important when it comes to dates on your CV, please, and I encourage you to make them specific. So March 2019 to March 2020. That way it's nice and clear and specific on when and how long you're with those employers for. Looking at accomplishments. So the difference between a good candidate, and there's lots of good candidates out there, and a great candidate are the things that you've achieved, things that you've actually done in your role. So a lot of people miss the opportunity to highlight their key achievements on their CV. And if you ask yourself the question, well, what do I put under key achievements? Go back to your role and think about what were the KPIs in your role? What were the measures of success in your role? When you were interviewing with your line manager or your direct manager, what were the conversations you had that said, yes, we're succeeding and we're achieving? And you want to be highlighting them on your CV. You want to be nice and specific. So I personally recruit across digital marketing, so I'll give an example around that. Key achievement was launched a successful email marketing campaign that achieved a click-through rate or open rate of 25%, or increased social media following by 5%. Doesn't necessarily matter about, whether 5% or 20%, what's going to look better, because it's relative to your market and your role. Maybe in a sales role, I increased revenue by 5%. I exceeded my budget by 50%. Those sorts of things, those KPIs, those commercial metrics, they're the things that should be listed in your CV. Looking at now technical skills. So this is separate from your soft skills. These are technical skills. These are platforms, programs, processes that you have that you're required to fulfill your role. And it's really important that you list these technical skills. So Salesforce could be a good CRM or marketing platform that you've had. Instagram, Facebook, it could be a sales tool that you've used. It could be an accounting software that you've had. It could be a process that you've had to follow that requires a technical element to it. Make sure you're listing them in your CV, because again, as before, we're searching for them. We used to be getting, 10, 20, 30 resumes for an application. Now we're getting them in the hundreds. And we want to go nice and quickly. We'll be moving through nice and quickly to refine and find those right skills. And typically we're spending a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes on each CV. So if you haven't got those technical skills there, you're probably missing the opportunity to really highlight your experience. And so that leans into that next point of lack of keywords. So as I just sort of mentioned, CVs now are being more and more often searched across databases and CRMs and platforms that your profile sits on. So you really want to optimize your keywords on that CV. So again, think of the technical skills, think of the experience that you have, and how can you optimize those platforms. So if I'm looking for a digital marketing candidate who's got Salesforce experience and has worked in retail, I'm going to be searching digital marketing, Salesforce, retail. And that's going to bring up to me the list of people that have that experience, and that's where I'm going to start. That's where I'm going to start. So if you haven't got those keywords, you could potentially be missing some of those opportunities. And last but not least, just in terms of your resume, is these buzzwords. So buzzwords are probably more I'm a good communicator, I'm a good team player, good time management skills, interpersonal skills. These buzzwords and phrases are nice to have on your CV, but we as recruiters and hiring managers will be qualifying that throughout the interview process. And it's going to happen through behavioural-based interview questions. Tell me about a time you've engaged with stakeholders to get an outcome. And that's where we're going to assess your communication, your interpersonal skills. What you want to avoid is putting in good time management skills and then rocking up 10 minutes late to an interview, or rocking up half an hour early to an interview. Again, it's just not going to present that right bit there. So they're okay to have. I'm not saying, don't remove them, but you just want to be wary of those, having too many of them and less of more your technical experience. So let's look at these questions now that we have coming through. And okay, we have a lot, which is great. I've got some commonly asked questions that we get asked here within the business. So I'm going to go through them, and then I'm going to flick to the Q&A we've got to see what we have up there. Cover letters. It's probably the one thing in recruitment or the job seeking process that people are so confused on. Cover letters. Here it is, black and white. If it asks for a cover letter, yes, absolutely. If it requests one, absolutely. If it doesn't request one, do not waste your time or your effort, because if that doesn't request one and then you send one, they're probably not going to read it. As I mentioned before, now that we're looking at getting hundreds of CVs for applications, we just don't have the capacity and time to read the full cover letter and the full CV to move through them in an efficient way. We're often doing an initial screening first. So simple, if it asks for one, yes. If it doesn't, don't bother. How long should it be? This is a tricky one depending on your industry experience, okay? We'll see the more experience you have, it's going to be a little bit longer. Generally speaking, longer than 1 page. That would be my tip on that one, longer than 1 page. So if you've got 20 years experience, not 11 pages, you might summarize the last 10, but you want it to be longer than at least 1 page. That's going to give you the opportunity to put in the right necessary keywords, achievements, and outcomes that you've had throughout your year. Photo. Should I put my photo on your CV? No, I don't believe it adds any extra value whatsoever. So I'm going to go out there and say no, CV, no photos on CV is not necessary. This is an interesting one. Do I leave off the employer if I've only been there for a few months? And it comes into this sort of gaps on CV sort of thing as well. So my advice to you, never leave off an employer on your CV. And I say that because most likely good recruiters will ask the right questions and we could find, or hiring managers could find that information out. And you would much rather address it at the beginning than at the end when we're possibly doing reference checking. So don't leave it out. Own it, accept it. It's okay to make mistakes when going through our careers. Sometimes we walk in with expectations what we thought it was and it's not, and that's okay. But own it and have an honest conversation. Look, I was there for 2 months and these were the reasons why I moved on and we left on amicable terms, etc. So don't hide or don't mend your CV to hide things that are there. What order? Order of experience. Essentially, this one comes up, and I do see often different approaches. Just start with your most recent and relevant experience, experience, and then move through from there. So most recent first. And what format should we put on? Rav, I can see you've asked a question here around, does a fancy resume template really matter? What format? Word. Word format. You can save it as a PDF, that's okay. Word is probably the best format in terms of program to use, and then save it as a PDF. Don't do it in Photoshop or another platform or program, just create it simply in Word, okay? So that's because, so here's an example just on this, because I knew it would absolutely come up. On the left is a template that I took from Word, right? The pre-formatted template that's on Word, okay? And what I want to explain here or highlight here is just how it's laid out. So not the fact that Word is no good for resumes, but the way it's laid out. As you can see, there's borders, there's spaces, the words are chunked together, there's information in different areas. It's hard to navigate and move through for a reader who's reading hundreds and hundreds of resumes. So my advice is that format is probably not the best format for job seekers in this market at the moment. We don't have the luxury to really looking and spending a long time on CVs. The one on the right is a format that we've created as a recruitment business. And so as you can see, very clearly simple, role, responsibilities, key achievements, dates, executive summary, etc. So as you can see, we've really cut out all that unnecessary noise and just focused on the key points that are there. Also, another note, typically, most recruitment companies, when they're presenting you for a role, they're actually reformatting your CV to present on their branding CVs that they have there, and it's just a presentation piece. So typically the format you send through is probably not going to go across to the employer anyway, so you might as well just keep it nice and simple for you as well. So while I have a look now at some questions that we can go through here, on your screen is a QR code. What you need to do, if you just get your phone out, you just open your camera. You don't need to download any software. You just open your camera, scan that code. A little link will come up on your top of your screen, and you'll be able to take you to a website that will give you access to that template that I just showed you. So again, you just open up your camera, a link button will come up top, click that, and then you'll be able to download that template for you. You can email it to yourself and then you can absolutely use it. So let's have a look at some questions here. As a recruiter, do you have a preferred resume format structure, or is it anything that can be read by an ATS? Okay, oh, fantastic. Thank you for that question. Definitely. So preferred format is Word, as I mentioned before, and a similar format as I may have just shown you there. And the reason for that, sometimes if it's not in that sort of format that we have, the resume can get caught in the ATS and it shows as wingdings, and I can't read that language. So that's why we sort of say Word. Arial font is pretty good. My LinkedIn shows detailed resume. However, I find that one overwhelmed resume, write the jobs, which I may consider overqualified. Okay, yeah, so this comes down to just making sure you've got really succinct and to the point key responsibilities. You're not having so many because then it can present as over-experienced. Highlight the 5 or 6 key responsibilities that you have, but more importantly, your key outcomes that you've got as well. Hopefully that answered that question. Now we can't shake hands with people. What would you suggest with great interviews? Okay, yeah, definitely. So if you're going to interview me and we're going to have that interaction, I'm probably going to give you a little foot tap or an elbow. It's actually a great way to break the ice, break the tension, creates a little bit of a separate conversation and a bit of a warmer introduction. So just go with your flow on that. Should we tailor resumes for each specific job we're applying for? This is, yeah, okay, interesting point. If you have created a CV or a resume that highlights your overall experience correctly and you are applying for the right roles that are relevant for you, then you shouldn't necessarily need to be tailoring your CV specifically to each job. Okay, you should be able to have that one CV that covers, okay, these are the areas and the roles that I want, and my CV reflects all those skills. Again, then when you're on the phone with the hiring manager or recruiter, you can ask them, is there anything else in my experience that you would like me to highlight? Okay, there's a lot here and I'm just conscious of time. So ATS should distil clear early career highlights. Okay, there's a lot here. So I'm conscious of time and I really want to obviously acknowledge these questions. So we're recording them, they are coming down. So we'll have to do our best to make sure we get through to those ones there. Okay, LinkedIn. Looking at LinkedIn, so this is a platform that if you're a working professional, you absolutely highly recommend that you have this platform. It is constantly something that recruiters use and hiring managers use to search profiles that you have that highlight your skills and experience. So if you haven't created one, jump on LinkedIn. It's very easy to create and there's steps of how to, etc. But here are some quick little tips on creating that strong profile. So if you have questions now around LinkedIn specifically, chuck them in. Sorry, what does ATS mean? Sorry, Application Tracking System. So it's when the resume comes through Seek into a recruiter or a hiring manager's CRM, and that's how we view resumes. Sorry, it's a good pickup. Application Tracking System. So it's just, I guess it sits in a CRM where we can then preview the CV so that we can move them through the job orders that we have. Thanks for the pickup. Sorry for the internal lingo. Back to LinkedIn. First thing, if you are looking for opportunities and you are in the market or you're open to a conversation, absolutely tick the box that says open for opportunities. Because when we're searching profiles on the back end of LinkedIn and we're looking through, there's a filter that we have as hiring managers and recruiters that says open for opportunities. So that is the first thing that we'll go to, and we'll look for the people that are wanting to have a conversation. We don't want to drag people out of businesses. We want people that are engaged to freely move. So we're going to look for those that are open. So definitely tick that box there, open for opportunities. Complete your profile. Complete your profile. Just need a drink of water. So complete your profile. All the sections that are on there, all of your employment, all of your skills, all of your qualifications that you have. List and complete your profile completely. Again, so when there's search, you've got more chances that things are going to be popped up. And Nevis sort of mentioned already this idea of keywords. So start to think of some of the keywords, industries, etc. that you've got, that you're in, that you can be adding to there, so that when people are searching, typing in those keywords, your profile's becoming a lot higher as well. Photo. Professional photo and professional headline. So not your Facebook photo from 2015, probably not your photo at you at the pub with your mates back in the days when, well, pubs are actually open now, that's always a good thing. So not those sorts of photos, a simple, clean, professional photo that presents well. That's all you need, and a nice professional title. So for me, superstar recruiter is probably not where it is, or industry recruiter. I want to put recruitment consultant or digital marketing recruitment consultant, really specific job position title, which sits just underneath your profile, because that's often the first thing that is searched through LinkedIn. And a summary. So your summary is just your executive summary, a paragraph or two on what are your skills, what is your overall experience. So a nice executive summary there. So let's have a look at some questions that we have. Perfect. Where on the resume should you mention technical competencies? At the top section. So sort of I always reference it at the first thing, name, and then details technical skills into career experience. You want to make it nice and quick for the person to read. Okay, how much? Let's keep scrolling down. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn Premium for job seekers? Interesting question. I don't think there's additional value from. I haven't probably really looked into it much, but I don't think there's a need to be spending money on the premium platform for job seekers. For hiring managers and recruiters, a bit different. It gives some additional features. I believe premium just gives you access to maybe also insights on companies, whether you find any value in that. But a standard profile absolutely should be doing the job. Okay, so any other questions on LinkedIn at the moment? Here's a couple of common questions we get asked. Should my LinkedIn reflect and cover my resume? To an extent, yep, just copy sort of those key achievements, but you might want to add some additional features or additional things that you have on your profile. Should I write my LinkedIn in first person or third person? It's you, it's your experience, so writing it in first person. How often should I update my profile? All the time, every few months, 3, 6 months, whatever it might be, just be absolutely updating that information so it's relevant and current and up to date. And should I get recommendations from previous employers? Definitely, 100%. Great way to sort of edify your skills and experience. People that are reading that, they might know that person and go, okay, they think they're really good as well. So definitely worth getting your recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. How do I compile a relevant summary for each job profile? Okay, yeah, so again, you want to, the summary should really be encapsulating all the skills and experience you have. So I'm Brett Knowles. I'm a 7-year experienced recruitment consultant. I've recruited in permanent and contract work. I've recruited across X industries with X role types. That's sort of my summary that I have that could be covered for a few different roles as well. Okay, so you just want to be giving a really good overview to your skills and experience. Here's just a quick example on these profiles and the keyword searching that I was sort of talking about. So as I sort of mentioned before, you know, the first profile there got the keywords, but in comparison to that second profile that has a lot more keywords and it's a completed profile, that profile would appear higher in a search than what the other one was. Other one would, I should say. And so there you go, you're going to have that ability to be able to be higher in the searches, and you've got open for opportunities. And you're just going to increase your chances of recruiters that search your profiles to access that information and find you and contact you. So same thing again, guys. I'm just going to have a quick look back at some of the questions to see, making sure that I'm covering off on as much as I can. We're getting a lot of questions coming through, which is great. Same thing again, get your phone out. You can scan that code and that will take you to a LinkedIn website. And that LinkedIn website gives you some practical tips, and there's some videos on there on how to optimize your CV. It may even give you an overview there around writing profiles and what to put in that profile as well. So that would be a good little reading. So I'll just give you some time to look at that while I quickly have a look at some questions. Is it fill out details? Yep, so seek profile, we're going to come to that in a moment. So definitely you want to do it on both just to simply answer your question. Should the LinkedIn profile look similar to CV? Yep, we've covered that. Yep, there should be elements absolutely the same. Okay, don't jump ahead, but you've asked the question so I don't forget. Do we have to contact the recruiting manager after sending resumes? I'm going to come back to that when I talk about plan of attack, about following up and reconnecting with the recruiter. All right. Do you list the achievements under each job, or do you list one summarising all your achievements? List your key achievements under each job. Don't just do a block summary. List your key achievements under each role that you have, specialised and focused in on that role there. Rightio. Looks like most of the ones there. As I said, sorry if I'm missing some. As I said, we're recording them, so we definitely will be coming back. Job seeker profiles. So for those that don't know what a job seeker profile, it's on Seek, seek.com.au. It's a section that says profiles. and you can create a profile. And this is so that, again, hiring managers and recruiters can search that profile and then reach out to you with relevant job opportunities. We as a business would be searching thousands and thousands of resumes on an annual basis across the company. So it's definitely a tool that we utilize. So if you haven't got a profile, absolutely encourage you to go create one. You'll get alerts from Seek and alerts on jobs. You'll be searched and you could be approached for the opportunities that are right for you, as well as recruitment companies and businesses and other businesses also have profiles on their websites as well. So really quickly, here are some tricks and tips on creating a profile, and very similar to what I just spoke about before. The common theme that you're seeing here is completed profiles. Okay, completed profiles. So have your updated resume on there with all your relevant details. Mark yourself open for opportunities. Complete all the data. Salary expectations you can put on Seek. Location you can put on Seek. Roles you're looking for you can put on Seek. There's an option there to be able to download your CV and your resume. So a recruiter can read your profile, they can go, they look good, we can download your CV, and then we're on the phone to you straight away to further qualify whether this is of interest. And again, using those keywords in your CV so that you can appear on more searches. So again, that's another, very similar to LinkedIn, the tips are quite the same. You want to make sure you've got that completed profile looking on your job seeker profile. So again, opportunity, this is just for me to stop and make sure I'm answering any live questions that come through. And a drink of water. Hi, Brett, can we forward you an updated CV to your team to update to your system? Absolutely, yep, so jump onto our website, find a recruiter that aligns to your skill set, and they'd absolutely love to hear from you there. Okay, so again, that QR code will take you to our website where you can make a profile to be updated with roles that 6 Degrees is recruiting. So that's where it is. So plan of attack now. So this is sort of the nuts and bolts of how to engage with our recruitment companies, how to go about this sort of job seeking process that you have here. So again, here if you've got questions about how to engage with recruitment businesses, please do. This is the opportunity to write them down, and we'll make sure we can get to them for you. So what I want to do here is I will just lift the bonnet a little bit around recruitment and how recruitment companies and how it works, and possibly hiring managers with the knowledge that I do have. Okay, so to give you an idea, recruiters can be working anywhere from 4, 5, 6, sometimes, depending on the space they work in, 12 different roles at a time. So we've got a lot that we're juggling, a lot going on, and we absolutely want to help everyone. We want to do everything in our power to help everyone in some way or form. Unfortunately, we can't place everyone, but if we can offer help with advice on tricks or tips or writing CVs or maybe some companies to approach directly or people to connect with, then that's hopefully where we can offer some value. So we're very keen to help people. We just unfortunately can't place everyone. We'd love to, but if we can offer any value, we can. So give some context when you're calling a recruiter, give some context to what you're calling about. So prepare a little elevator pitch, prepare a little, I suppose, sell to the recruiter of what your experience is and give them context to why you're calling. Hey, my name's Brett. Thanks for taking the call. I saw your recruitment consultant role on Seek for a retailer, and I'm very interested to hear a little bit more about that because I've got 7 years recruitment experience. Have you got time to talk? Great little opener, giving some context. I'm on the other end going, great, I know what this person's after now, and I can start to frame my thinking to help them. Prepare some questions before calling. Okay, so think of and prepare some questions before calling. So those questions can be centered around, a good one is, what is the client looking for? What are they looking for in a successful candidate? What are the skills you're after in this role? Can you tell me a little bit about the culture of the business and how they operate? These are really good questions for you to qualify whether this role's right for you. Then you might, once you've had that conversation, you've built the relationship and rapport with the recruiter, then it could be possibly appropriate to ask, who is the employer, or could I see a JD? Just respect that there might be a bit of a process that the recruiter is being asked to follow. We can't necessarily always give that information out straight away. Those other questions, what are you looking for? What's the right skills, etc., are really good questions to record that can just build that rapport with your recruiter. So here's a really, true point. You really need to be thinking about the types of roles that you're applying for. and focusing in on applying and connecting for the relevant roles that you have. A lot of people seeing at the moment are applying for lots of different roles, which I appreciate that you're trying to do your best to get there, but you're going to increase your strike rate and have more positive conversations if you just focus in on what is the core role that I'm wanting, both short-term and long-term. Let's not just think about the next 3 months, let's think about the next 3 years. That role that I'm applying for, that I want to be in, what are those positions, and apply for those types of roles. Don't sort of take this scattergun approach that that we see some people taking throughout their job seeking. So know what your must-haves are, okay, and be honest with your recruiter or your hiring manager on what you're looking for, okay? So clearly articulate what is important to you. Salary, location, share with them reason for leaving former employees and why that didn't work, so that they can help you make sure that that doesn't happen again in future employees or future positions as well. So think about your key requirements and what you're looking at. And lastly, build your network, okay? We can absolutely want to help you in every way we can, but we encourage you, and I highly encourage you, that we are one part of your strategy, connecting directly with companies that you've got an interest in, your own existing network, former managers that may have moved to new companies, etc., other friends in different sectors, other recruiters, that's okay. In connecting, engaging with them, you want to make sure you've opened up those opportunities for you. So there's some quick pointers for you. Let's have a look here at questions around from terms of recruitment. If you get made redundant, does that it matters when applying for a new role? I don't know. No, it does not matter at all. You've obviously got a redundancy letter from your employer which validates that reason. You can have that letter when you go to the interview, and you can provide, it's made redundant, these reasons here. In the current climate at the moment, that is a very, very common, and employers are very understanding. Yes, okay, keyword search. Okay, is there a commonly searched terms? Okay, it's really industry specific. Okay, so it's sort of, depending on without knowing what sort of sector you're in, it is really, really industry specific. So you just want to think about sectors that you've worked in, technical skills that you have, or technical processes that you have as well would be some of the common questions. Let's have a look here. What would you suggest someone does if they feel like a recruiter doesn't like them on the first meeting when you really want a specific job? Okay, yeah, good question. That's okay. It comes down to the importance of building that rapport with your recruiter. So having that soft conversation, building that connection, learning a little bit about them, and they're going to learn a little bit about you, and creating that rapport. Recruiters, at the end of the day, we will not be having bias. We should be having no bias on how we present candidates. We here at 6 Degrees, we put candidates forward based on their merits. So if you're engaging with a recruiter that's maybe not giving you that, I don't know, maybe that might not be the right recruiter. It is a really, really challenging one. So you just need to clearly articulate why you might be right and suitable for that role, and work through that. Hopefully I've answered your question there. Tips on building a mutually beneficial relationship with HR manager and recruiters alike. We're all people, we're both people, connect with each other as people, take the opportunity to learn. Again, we want to learn a little bit more about you, you learn a little bit more about us, and just create a normal connection and a normal relationship with your recruiter, and keep it long term. If they give you a call, have a little chat with them, and just continue to build that rapport, because recruiter in your back pocket may be great now, may be great in 2 years, may be great in 5 years, and they can actually really open those roles for you. So my tips is just have a two-way relationship for you there. Just looking at the time that we've got here, got a few minutes left now. Are there any asked opportunity for questions? At what stage do you discuss remuneration? Okay, so with a recruiter, you're probably having that conversation early up in your interview. They're understanding your salary expectations, and it's really important you share with them your current salary expectations, so that they have an idea of where you're at, and they can help you negotiate and get the best offer for you and the best deal for you as well. Okay, so you're giving them your current expectations, and what your expectations are in your next role. And that's also to help us being able to consult with you and guide you and give you advice on, is that achievable, and can we succeed that for you, and can we get that for you? Because if we can't, we want to have that conversation early and say, look, we're not going to be able to secure that for ABC reasons. You're going to have that relatively early. So that conversation happens up front, and then recruiters are having that conversation directly with the clients throughout the whole process. We're confirming the salary we've represented you at is the salary that's going to be going through to be offered. Okay, so we're managing that process the whole way. With hiring managers, again, it really depends, I guess, on what their process is, but I would say probably not in the first interview. If you're directly working with the business, you're probably going to talk about salary. Probably in that second interview would likely come up and understand, okay, what are the expectations? And if possible, hopefully they've maybe advertised the salary range, or you've got an indication of where it's at. In terms of where you should be positioning yourself, your worth is your skill set and what you can deliver. And so you just think what's reflective for that as well. So hopefully I've asked that one around salary. What's a reasonable time prior to follow up? Okay, great question. So following up, definitely popping in your application. There's absolutely no reason why in 2 days or so you're popping maybe another email or a phone call and seeing if they've got any feedback. Then maybe if you're still at that not point hearing back from them, and maybe a week later, you might want to then go your last chance. And if you're not hearing back from them again, my advice is cross it off the list. You can't control whether that person's going to connect with you or not. Focus on the things that you can control and move on to the next one. There may be a reason. I don't know why they haven't called you. It's one of the challenges in this industry. We do our best, but absolutely, I would say that give it a couple of days, not every day. Give it 2 days, and then maybe 5 days later is probably an appropriate questions. 2 questions about sector change above. Okay, I think that's about changing industry, pivot to a new industry or sector. Okay, just wary of time as well. So that's going to come down to, again, your achievements and what you've delivered. If you can clearly articulate the process of what you've done, and then and the skills that you have, then whether it's working in different sectors, again, depending on which sector you're in, the process should obviously remain the same. Okay, the skill set is still there. So that's why it's important articulating your achievements and your outcomes, and clearly being able to walk through how you delivered that process. All right, there might be scope for another webinar to talking about interviewing potentially, because that's always a common one there. So hopefully that answers that question. One more. Okay. Is it acceptable to address gaps in your resume in the cover letter, i.e. during a following period traveling? Yeah, okay, gaps, absolutely. I see gaps all the time, travel period, raising children. I see those gaps. Definitely, I think it's okay to put them in because it answers the question when the reader's moving through that. Okay, why is that gap there? Oh, okay, they did some travel. And then I'm going to ask you about that, and that's going to build rapport. Where did you travel to? What did you like? Oh, I've been there as well. So definitely be highlighting those gaps for you there as well. Guys, I think that's sort of it. There's certainly a lot of questions there that we've had. So hopefully what we'll do, we'll be saving those questions, and we'll be looking to come back and see if we can come back to you around that sort of information. We've recorded this session, so we will be emailing it out. But guys, thank you so much for attending this webinar. I do hope that you've taken something away, lots of information, a little bit of information, maybe just a laugh in the way I present silly things. But I really do hope you've enjoyed the webinar today, and I wish you luck in your job search. Stick at it, keep going. Your time will absolutely come. Guys, have a great rest of your morning.